All right. Well, hey everyone. This is Dale Berkeball, and I'm coming in with my buddy House of Wax, and we're going to talk a little bit about mental health this today. Right? It's Mental Health Month, and House, you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Yes, my name is Wax from House of Wax. We're bringing mental health awareness through music and collecting music, and how music plays a big role in um, our development in society, personally, and how I think it's a good avenue to be able to um, use for mental health. We use it every day anyway, as far as exercising or recreational activities. But I think it's a highly overlooked you know um, tool to be able to use for mental health.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'm a longtime music fan, and I know you are as well. That's kind of how we got hooked up. Um, and I think mental health is or mental health was something that wasn't really in my worldview until I had an issue.
Right, 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 right.
But music was always something that I leaned on to, make me feel better or control emotions and all that kind of stuff. Um, so I guess what made you interested in uh, talking about mental health and helping in that space?
Well, I've been suffering from, well, not suffering, but I've been battling anxiety and depression since maybe like the '80s, and when it first came upon me, I just really didn't know what it was. You know what I mean? I just thought, I was diagnosed when I was younger with like having, being hyperactive, and so many kids back in the '80s were so like misdiagnosed with just being hyperactive, or there was no such thing as ADHD. There was none of that stuff back then. You know what I mean? So everything was just hyperactive, and they just gave you medicine or whatever. So um, I think I met my fiance about 6 years ago almost, and I was at a point in my life where I had lost my home. I was homeless. I was sleeping in my car. Um,
Mm.
and I eventually was working at a hotel, and I think my boss at the hotel, she didn't want me sleeping in the car, so she was like, you can sleep in the storage closet. So I think like right there is where like I had reached a point in my life where everybody says you reach rock bottom, and I think that was the point for me. And then I think at that point I was able to reflect on everything that had happened to me in my life or whatever, and I think the only thing that was ever consistent in my life was music. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was like, you know, back when we was, when we was younger, you know, having a car with huge speakers in the back was a big thing. But you know what? Music was still there, and how me used to talk about, concerts that would come and go and raves that would come and go, and and I think like the different genres of music that was in its own genre. Like, like back in the day, there was rock and roll. That was just what it was. It was rock and roll. There was no such thing as hard rock, soft rock, grunge. It was our generation that said there started, like, granddad and dad, they can have rock, but we're gonna have our grunge music. We're gonna have our, so I think like that that moment in my life was where I was reflecting, like, music has always been a huge part of my life. When I wasn't really able to say what I mean or mean what I say, there was always an artist, a song, something that was able to express how you felt. You know what I mean? And
Right.
I worked at a at risk youth. program where I met Kyle Roberts, which he does college tours where he speaks on mental health as well. He works for a company called Active Minds, and I met him, as a teenager in the program or whatever, and I explained. I was always the old dude explaining old school music to kids, you know what I mean, and whoever the new artist was trying to explain to them that there's nothing new under the sun. That person is just like somebody we grew up with or whatever, and
Right.
I never knew that he suffered from anxiety and depression even back then. So,
Mm.
you know, fast forward 4 to 5 years, and he's doing Active Minds, and I'm reaching out to him, telling him what I'm going through, and we're sharing stories or whatever. And he's doing music. So, and I think like what really got me into it is the fact that he was able to help combat my love of music and not shy away from having anxiety and depression. That
Mm.
that's been some of the problem as far as nobody really wanting to talk about it. And
Right.
I thank them all the time. I thank you. Is I see your posts. They're great. And just first of all for men, period. Because as men, we're just told, suck it up. You know, um, be a man about it. You got to feel tough. You got to play the tough role. You know what I mean? And um, it just makes me wonder, like, our fathers and grandfathers, what were they really suffering from, or what were they really going through back then that they weren't able to talk about it? The
Right.
like the John Wayne mentality. You know what I mean? And it's sad because now here we are, and we don't know the effects of ignoring mental health and not talking about it. And now that we got you, like you and Kai, paving the way for people like me. So I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Kai. You guys were building the platform, and I'm just following you guys' lead. And like I said, I appreciate the opportunity being able to sit down and express myself and tell my story and sharing it over something that we've overlooked for. I'm not going to say how old we are, but we've overlooked it for a long time.
Right.
We're not gonna put an age on it because
Right. Right.
yeah, we gonna leave it at mental health right now. We're not comfortable saying our age yet.
Yeah. Well, I think you bring up some really great points. I mean, for me, so it's been about 9 years or close to 10 years when I first had my bout with depression, and I didn't really know what it was, and so like I was sort of asking for help because I just knew I felt like shit. Right. And I'm like, hey, I don't know what's going on, but something, I just can't seem to kick this, whatever. And eventually I got to a point where I kind of I knew that I needed some sort of self-care ritual or something to try and make me feel better. And the funny thing is, I had a lot of things come into play that kind of pushed me into depression. But tying it to music, I will say I had about a decade before that I wasn't listening to music. I had a bunch of CDs, and my CD player was busted or whatever, so I wasn't listening to music. I wasn't going to see live music, which was something that I did the previous 10 years. I did like all the time. So I didn't have an outlet. I wasn't connecting to my music the way I did in the rest of my life. And but once I started, and I do meditation and different things like that. Once I started putting that stuff in place, I realized what it was. But it took me like 2 years to figure out, maybe even longer, before I was able to reflect and say, holy shit, that was depression. I was just like, whatever. And once I did, I was, for me, I was just like, holy crap, I need to, if I need to be the poster boy of this thing, then I'm happy to get out and do that because, because it could have been avoided, I guess is or at least minimized. And so, I don't want anyone to go there. So, so I'm doing whatever I can to try and get it out there. And that's one of the reasons that I love, our first connection. I think you were posting something about music and talking about mental health. And I was like, oh man, that's kind of a twist. And, there's things that are definitely connections there.
Right.
But, as far as, mental health, one of the things that you mentioned potentially touching on is the comparison of before and now. And so maybe that's kind of what you were talking about with our parents and our grandparents, what they went through as far as what we're going through today. Do you think things are better today or things are worse today?
Well, I think things are the same. And I think it may seem like it's worse because we're talking about it now. And I think because, when you think about it, when you listen to all the lyrics in the songs from then to now, the lyrics hit a whole lot different now than they do back then. Because back then, man, it was your favorite artist. Dude, they could have been saying anything, dude. And you would have been like, oh my God, like this is decent. This is decent. And now that you sit there and listen to it, like that guy, Linkin Park lyrics, or people who aren't with us anymore. When you tend to look, it's almost like, once again, it's like a blueprint. You sit there and listen to, the people who've passed away, the Kurt Cobains and stuff like that. The lyrics were deep, and those were flags that they were like, people were in trouble. People are in trouble now. Then. You know what I mean? So I would say, I'm not going to sit there and dismiss what people are going through today by saying, what we were going through back then is way worse. You know what I mean? Because I think, I would say, I think the way, the new generation processes the information is different. Because, I think, we didn't have internet and stuff like that or whatever to, socialize or believe what we see and what we read. You know what I mean? So, back then, if we thought somebody or something was a swindler, that's just what it was. And we just didn't go for it. Or, we had sessions where we talked about each other and, we call it ripping. So, ripping was, your mom or whatever it was, you getting on each other or you snapping on each other or whatever, and it made tough skin back then. You know what I mean? You hated to go to a study hall, or you hated to go to school with busted shoes or what it was. You know what I mean? Because you knew like what it was going to be. Dude, I failed many a class because I was trying to come up with some snap comebacks instead of doing homework because I couldn't afford the Jordans, or I couldn't afford the Air Force Ones or the Air Maxes. So, I mean, I think stuff like that was even doing damage back then because when you're young, you're a little bit more resilient and you're able to bounce back. And the things that we think are way important to us back then. Homecoming or the prom or a talent show or, that first girl or whatever it was. We thinking like, dude, I'm going to die tomorrow if I don't get this outfit to go to Kennywood picnic or, you know what I mean? But, I think, a couple years ago, I think, I was trying to process one thing, one of the first things that you're always told me, one of the few things that you're told when you're younger is, when you're falling in love and they say you're too young to fall in love. And I think what it is it's not the fact that you're too young to fall in love. It's you're too young to understand it and how to deal with it. And I think it's the same thing with anxiety and depression. It's you're so young, you're too young to be able to handle such a heavy burden of mental problem. You know what I mean? Because the avenues back then, and you can go join track team, or you can go join glee club or chess club, because there were so many avenues where there was somebody out there like you. There was always a group somebody somewhere that was like you. So you had an outlet, or you was able to leverage. Even in the lunchroom, when you think about it, how segregated lunch cafeterias are. There's always a cool table. There's always like a goth table. There's always like a hip hop table. You know what I mean? So it's like, but the thing is, even back then, that plays, havoc on our mentality, because you may have a friend that's in a chess club, but he's a nerd, considered a nerd. You know what I mean? And you're new and you don't want to mess a good reputation, so he comes talk to you, so you're ignoring him. You know what I mean? So it's like, you fast forward to us being old dudes now, you know what I mean? And it's like you try to take on more burden, because now you got your kids coming up, and you're trying to shield them from what you've been through. You know what I mean? But like you said, for 10 years ago, for you're sitting there taking on a whole world of other stuff, and you still got stuff in your past you never dealt with.
Right.
And I think I'm not gonna, like I said, I'm not gonna dismiss, what this generation is going through now, man, because they're gonna have a hell of a time. Because you got people on the internet telling you people to go kill themselves, or you got stuff posted on the internet that's not real or not true, or reality TV is not really a reality. That's not your reality. You know what I mean? So I think it's up to us, and it's up to you, it's up to me, it's up to Kai, it's up to us to push these platforms, not for them just to be platforms, but to be a way of life, to be a tool of life in this this I like to call it the I'm trying to think like the resistance. That's what I was looking for. Like this is a resistance against mental, anxiety and stress. And we gotta use different tools where people are going to recognize us. Because pointing a camera and sitting somewhere and interviewing people, millions of people are doing that. I have a friend named A1. He's a DJ out of Virginia. He told me something like, man, like almost like 15 years ago, and he was like, when you're doing something, we'll make sure it's different than anybody else's. What's going to make somebody, gravitate towards you and not somebody else? So, you got to stay fresh. You got to stay in the now. You got to stay, I would love to talk about Public Enemy and Eazy-E and Led Zeppelin and Pearl Jam. But guess what? Them young kids out there, they want to talk about Kendrick Lamar, and they want to talk about the Baby and these other dudes that I'm still trying to catch up on. Right. So, I mean, so what made you eventually fall into building this platform the way you are?
Well, I think what I went through and the tools that I used to help myself, I felt like were tools that were available. I mentioned like meditation and stuff like that. I exercised and things like that, and added these things later, or did a lot of reading and a lot of research to find my way out.
Right.
But I felt like it was sort of a duty to share these things with other people, because I wish I had them. And I was struggling, and I struggled to get any health care, like medical sort of health care, or, at the time I was financially, I wasn't in a good place. And so affording a therapist, a lot of therapists don't take insurance and things like that. And so, so it was just like I was in a bad place and I had to do it myself, and so I kind of was brought up on the whole punk rock, do it yourself kind of attitude. And, so I figured out how to do it. And I'm a business owner, so I was kind of used to problem solving, but this was different, right? I just wasn't seasoned in I didn't even know what was going on. So I had to figure that out. And then I had to do this, that, and the other thing. And so what I realized, once I got to a point where I was sort of stable, what I realized was, God, if I had this stuff beforehand, it wouldn't have got nearly as dark or as bad, that, just as ugly as it was, because I would have had coping skills. And so, I think that's the big thing for me, is like, okay, well, this is all about coping skills to some degree. How can I help other people think about the stuff before they get there, or whenever they get there, define it so they realize, because I struggle with that for a little bit. And then once they, if they do get there and they're having issues with, anxiety, depression, or whatever, just what I consider toxic emotions at this point, maybe is part of it. And what can I do to help people get out of that, right. or minimize it, right? And so the first step, I thought, was just talking about it,
right.
Being willing to talk about it, because you kind of mentioned that, and it's like, mentioned it also from a guy's perspective, because it's sort of, for me, mental health, depression, and things like that have been like a perspective of you're crazy, or you're weak, or all that stuff. And so really, I just want to disrupt all that. Look, dude, I had a lot of resources, but I still ended up here, and anyone can end up here. And a matter of fact, I think 1 in 4 people deal with depression, and that's not something that's known either. I think that's the facts. But the more I learned, the more I wanted to share, the more I wanted to make it common and make it okay, and kind of dispel this what's the word I'm thinking of? Just like labeling it as bad, right? It's not necessarily bad that we have these things. It's just a part of human, living, and things like that. So how do we deal with it? Let's talk about coping mechanisms. What can we do to figure out what's going on and start dealing with it, And so, with my kids, when they're kind of, losing their mind, I'm like, okay, let's try some, they know about meditation, but we don't practice a meditation in that moment. We start to just do breathing exercises. Like, okay, I don't even have to say anything, because if I say something, they kind of go off, and I'm just like, I just start breathing, and they know. So it's like,
you give them the dad look.
Like, oh, man.
You give them the dad look. you can call it whatever you want. We know what I'm saying. If you got kids, you know the dad look. The dad look. So you give them the dad look. You break out to the breathing. Okay, I got you. That's your version of the countdown.
Right.
But I mean, like I said, like, it's awesome that, that you're doing what you're doing, and that you recognize that, because when, like, I think what happens is when you're finally understanding what it is, that's when you start doing the reflecting. You're just thinking back how far and how long you've been going through it, and what red flags and stuff that you've ignored, and what your triggers were.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think too, when you're younger, you don't have as much control over your life as you think you do. You know what I mean? Because, like, if there's triggers in school, you can't just say I don't want to go to school. But if there's triggers at a job that you don't like, you can switch jobs. You know what I mean? So we, as adults, I think what happens is we don't sympathize with a younger person. And it's just I always tell my fiance, like, I wouldn't be paid $1 million to be young now, because it's hard, man. It's hard. It's I think they're looking for an identity, and I think they don't realize identity isn't something that you see on TV, or your artist, your favorite artist is going to give you. It's what's in you. It's your character. It starts at home. It starts with your mom or your dad. It starts with um talking about your day, or your parents asking about your day, or consistency in your life. You know what I mean? And
Right.
it's just um it's a hard world, man. It's a hard world, and I hope people are able to find you in your platform as a tool, and in Kai, and I think knowing the both of you guys is just awesome, because you are on two different spectrums, but it's for the same thing. So there may be somebody who's not into hip hop music like he does, but that's into meditation. That would be you. I have another
Right.
friend. She's a physical therapist, and she's doing yoga classes, and doing diet classes and stuff. So she's trying to help people with anxiety and depression through what they eat. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like just the four of us together, trying to do the same message from different avenues is just awesome. And I think I've only been doing this, well, not I, but Rock Girls 80 and Dead Boy, which is my nephew, who he's doing his art and audio and video. Rock Girls 80 is my fiance, which is she's helping spread the awareness too, and she also spreads awareness for domestic abuse too. And
Mm.
we're just now realizing like other things that cause anxiety, domestic abuse, or just where you live or whatever. But just meeting the people that I've met, and in the short amount of time that we've been doing it, and I think like not knowing, like I think a lot of I think this year alone has been the first time that I've actually known what social media is for. And social media
Right.
was made to bring people far away closer together. So I've talked to people in the UK. I've talked to people in Brazil. I've talked to people in Canada. I've talked to people in so many different places that I never thought I would talk to. And I've had people in the middle of the night want to talk about schizophrenia, or what they're going through, or just to talk, or somebody, I guess there's somebody that I talked to who um or is having problems, dealing with their sons going through, and being a single parent, and that's things that we've never even heard of back in the day, where a single man as a parent, know what I mean? When you heard a single mom, a single parent, it was always, a woman.
Right.
So I think, what you're doing is awesome. I think, you telling your story is awesome. Um, you're one of the few transparent people I see on social media. You'll be out. You'll I see post with your kids, or 1 minute it'll be about music, and the next it'll be about you know you'll be out taking pictures with plants, or just being out there and wherever. And I'm just like, man, this dude be doing. He be we're doing that. But,
Well, it's funny because early on when I started on social media and stuff like that, I wasn't really crazy about it. I had a friend that invited me, like, "Oh, you got to get on." Back then it was MySpace, and then it kind of like, okay, no, that's the old thing. You got to get on Facebook or whatever. And this was like ages ago, right?
I thought we weren't gonna date ourselves. Did you really just say MySpace, man?
I did, man. That's you know what? I found some good musicians on there, man.
I know, man, but you gonna have like 100,000 millennials saying, what the hell? What the hell is MySpace? What
Right,
the hell is
right.
that?
Yeah, well, I admit that I'm an old man. But the funny thing is, early on, because of my music background, my punk background, and things like that, skate background, I kind of kept my. I'm run a business for the last 23 years, but I kind of separated my two worlds, right? I had a business community that I talked to try and, deal with and things like that. I have a little, my sidekick here.
Right.
So I had that business community where I kept things business or whatever. And then I had my concerts and music community where we talked about all kinds of things because I love all genres.
Right.
But, but I kept those separate because I didn't think like my business world would be interested in my whatever. And I think part of my own depression was, living these kind of weird lives where I had like these two different, completely different lives.
Right.
And I got to the point where I was like, screw it. I threw it all together and I'm like, you know what? Love me or hate me, you get it. And the good thing is, if business people don't love me, bye. We'll see you. Have a good day because they're not my people anyhow. And my music people that don't have any interest in hearing about my meditation or, whatever other weird stuff that I talk about. Politics, whatever, bye. I'm like, you're not my people, and that's okay. But I think one of the things you mentioned about learning what social media is about, for me, when I finally started moving into that space and really embracing just like, this is who I am. This is my authentic self, take it or leave it, love it or hate it. It was a healing process, I think, on some level, but it was also something that I felt passionate about, not using social media as a, hey, look how kick-ass my life is. Right. And just like having this facade of perfection. Like I get on and I screw up all the time. I mean, I enter all kinds of difficult conversations about politics, about racism, about, you name it.
Right.
And I screw up sometimes and I get called out on it and I get crucified for it sometimes. But it's like, okay, dude, I screwed up. I made a mistake. I'm learning, right? So I admit that I make mistakes and I'm a flawed human being and all that kind of stuff. I just put it all out there. And starting from that ground where I'm not perfect, but I'm just like living life and trying to create the Hellagood life. I'm trying to figure out what the hell Hellagood life is.
Right.
So, join me, come along with me. That's kind of for me what social media is all about, is just living life and showing a different way, because I think we get hung up on social media being only to show perfection, and then it's like we internalize all that shit, right? It's like we have to live a perfect life because we have this lens we're created for ourselves, and that just internal eats us up, and so it could very much lead to some of the difficulties and things like that.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I've definitely found myself. I told my fiance that I would go to my Facebook page and you're editing stuff because you don't think it's you don't think it's good enough, or you don't want to be judged by certain things you're putting on there, or and same with you. As you said, I just reached a point, the other day. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna talk about my past, about my past relationships, and I put about about relationships and and how I was, it got me to where I am, because I've been in bad relationships, and I've been in relationships where you're made to feel like you're the problem,
right? Or
you can't express yourself, or when the other person's doing wrong, they had tactics that'll make you drop your guard, and I find myself apologizing to them because they want to shed tears or cry because they were wrong, and now you're apologizing to them and you didn't do anything wrong, or you're made to feel like you're just not good enough, like you were saying, and you're living a life that is not you, or you're at a job being that something that you're not, and before I met her, I knew who I was, like, man, dude, I had a Jeep, and I told her my routine was I would work a job, we'll do a whole bunch of overtime, save my money, buy a couple outfits, a basketball, and some hoop sneaks. That was my summer, and It maybe not. It may be another life for somebody else, but dude, I was happy. I was happy playing basketball and being with my friends or whatever. And then I got into a relationship where next thing I know, dude, I'm doing theater. I'm doing some crazy stuff that I never even like. What the hell am I? I'm thinking, like, what am I doing here? I would just say, I had met the friend I was saying, the DJ A1. I always teased him because I remember the person I was with convinced me to convince him to be in this play, and then we had to go to I don't know if you remember, but there was a pizza place in Pittsburgh called Vento's, and I went to Peabody High, and Peabody High and Vento's is maybe like not even 50 seconds from 30 or 50 seconds from each other. And this person ordered food, and we didn't have a time to change. We had to run outside in our costume. And I think it was I was like a Munich or something, and he was like a some type of prince or something. He had a cape on. Man, we looked like Batman and Robin running down the street. And we had tights and stuff on, man. And he said he jokes and says that was the beginning of gentrification. He said because he said there was probably people seeing us running down the street like these people are weird as hell. So he said like 20 to 30 years like he said from now. He said they're thinking like, I wonder what happened to those two fellas that were running down. So I mean, right. Dude, if you would have told me I was going to be in a play or something like that, I would have said there's no way. But it's just like I said, I had done a lot of stuff that I wasn't comfortable with, that I didn't want to do. I became something that I wasn't. And when I met her, when I met my fiance now, it was weird because I didn't know who I was or what I liked. But going back to the beginning of this conversation, the one thing that was consistent was music.
Right.
So I went from, I think like 600 or 700 records and vinyls to now I almost have 2,000 vinyls now. Not counting CDs and whatever. And House of Wax. House of Wax is a name that I got from a horror movie that I like called House of Wax. And I'm a huge buff of horror movies, and Halloween is one of my favorite holidays. I hand out candy to the kids. I get dressed up. We do the whole nine. And I thought, what is a perfect way of, wax, which is, what we call records, and horror, my love of horror movies, and just mix them together. And now, I go back, Wax from House of Wax, and this is probably my first interview that I've done. And I appreciate it so much. I didn't know how I was going to do it because I was scared. But no, I think this is the second one because you gave me the meet and greet meeting, and I didn't even know what it was. He was giving I had to go to my fiance. My fiance like, what the heck is she talking about? We're like, we got to do a meet and greet or whatever. And she's like, he just want to meet you. He just want to make sure the chemistry's right. He's got to make sure that you fit the show. I was like, oh man, here we go. I'm being pigeonholed again.
Yeah, man, it was great.
For something we're trying to get rid of. I'm like, he judging me. But I get it because you got to protect your viewers. You got to protect your brand. You can't be bringing some Yahoo on here. I get it. So, but
well, I've done all kinds. I've done, I've brought all kinds of people in, and or just off a whim and things like that before. Now I haven't been doing interviews in a long time, but I wanted to get back to it. And when we started talking, I mean, I thought we had a great conversation and stuff like that. I'm like, oh man, we're gonna have some good times here. Commonality and interest and that sort of thing. So that's awesome. And so people can find you at House of Wax on Facebook and on Instagram. Is that right?
Yes. And we're in the process of building an overall organization for what we're doing. And it's going to be called House Music, and that's it's going to be housemusic.org, and it's going to be an organization where we're going to help people suffer with mental disorders and maybe giving people tools to, like, that people like you, or people who maybe want to, do music classes or whatever help that they may need, is it's going to be our way of, giving back to the community, giving back to, people who are going through similar things that we're going through. So, that's going to be
Right.
our brainchild of what we're going to be trying to develop. House of Wax is just going to be my handle and who I am on social media, but House of Wax needs a home, and it's going to be house music is where it's going to be. So yeah, we can be reached on Facebook at House of Wax, and on Instagram House of Wax, or it could be it's Rock Girls 80 at House of Facebook, and
Facebook
same as on Instagram.
on Instagram.
So
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome, and I look forward to seeing what you guys are, continuing to put out and things like that. And one thing that I will say about this process is, I think another piece of the healing process, or the coping mechanisms, a great coping mechanism, is helping other people. And so, like, that's kind of like you get to a place where you're kind of feeling comfortable or stable with yourself or whatever, but then if you can help other people, man, it makes you feel great. But it's just an amazing thing. And so I love that we connected. I love the hearing what you're doing and what you're up to, and the other connections that you have, because I do think that stuff is important. We need a bunch of different people in different kind of capacities, going after things different, because, just like the when I was talking about the business audience and stuff like that, we need to connect to the people that resonate with us, right? Like, dude, that guy's speaking my language. I know what he's talking about. He's like, whatever, or she's doing, I get what they're talking about. And I need to talk to them because this is an issue, and whatever. So whether it's food or yoga or, whatever, music or whatever else, we need to reach people where they're at,
Right.
and start there. And if it's just over talking about music, I mean, that's a really quick, easy way to start to build a relationship and things like that. So
It is, and I think like I said, I kind of stumbled onto it by accident, because it was just I was just I was just posting information about music. That's just like
right.
just like all what I was doing. And like you said, I was getting information wrong about the records or the artists or whatever. And dude, I was getting killed on social media. Like, that's not a first pressing, and this is not this, and this is that. And I said, I was just copying what I was seeing, and other people were posting the music. That's what they were doing. You know what I mean? So I said, but these are all collectors. These are like people who've been collecting for 40, 50 years. Have been collecting music,
Right.
so they know pressing plants. They know the person who's editing stuff. They know all that stuff. And I said, I have, there was a thing, there was a post, or there was somebody I was talking to on Facebook or something. I said, there's more fans that collect music than there are collectors that collect music. And I said, I think that was the turning point. I said, you know what? I represent the fan that collects music. I'm like, the fan that collects music. We're the ones who hung posters on our wall. We're the ones that, had the jean jackets with the buttons all over. I said, guess what? If you'd have went to us back then and said, where's the nearing vinyl pressing plant, we wouldn't have cared. You know what I'm saying? We wouldn't have cared who was in the editing booth when they was editing. We didn't care, because it doesn't mean nothing to us. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I said, but we're just a fan of music, and that's what I represent. I just represent the fan of music. I don't post all the detailed information about the artist or the record. I mean, because that's just not what it's about. It's about the music. At the end of the day, it's about the music.
Right.
And
Right.
if people have people try to challenge me, and and they try to suck you in, and I just let them know, dude, that's cool. I'm not. I don't care that this is a fresh pressing. I don't care if it's a reissue. I don't care. who cut it. I don't care that it's 180. I can care less. You know what I mean? I said it's about the music. It's about the message I'm trying to portray over the music. You know, if you don't want to be, you know, if you don't need healed, get it out of the way because there's somebody that does. You're in the way. You're in the way. So I don't have a problem cutting somebody off. You know, blocking somebody or whatever. I said because you know the platform I'm trying to build with House of Wax is I want people to be able to share their collection, share who they are, be comfortable, feel safe. Because the reason why I say that is because you never know when you know that Frank Sinatra record is going to break out into I'm not feeling okay today and I'm going through something and they feel scared because they're in on my Facebook page or they're following something that I'm saying and they don't feel comfortable. So I have to protect anybody anybody that is my friend on Facebook, my followers on Instagram. I protect anybody that that's following me because I want you to feel safe. I want you to be able to share. I want you to be able to be you. I want you to I don't care if you got 10,000 records and somebody got 3 records.
Right.
If their goal is 5 records, then guess what? It's not it's not quantity, it's quality. We're talking the quality of life.
Right. Awesome. And I think that's something that's sort of an interesting thing in music. Sometimes there is judgments and things like that, just like you're talking about, knowing all the stuff. We got to one up each other sometimes. Oh no, you got to know such and such and whatever. And I did that stuff at times. And looking back, I'm just like, yeah, it doesn't matter. What serves you, what makes you happy, that's cool. Do that, right? You don't have to do or know the stuff I know or know the pressing plan or the whatever. That's if you know that stuff, right? Cool, man. If that's what gets you off, that's awesome, right?
So I just want to thank you for having me. I always have a blast talking to you, and I so hardly support what you're doing, and I'm pretty sure there's gonna be more interviews because I know I'm probably gonna reach out to you and have one. I would love to even travel down your way and do one in person because I know she likes to travel. She likes to travel. I'm pretty sure if I say I'm going down near you, she'll be happy to go. So, but I definitely look forward to working on some projects together. I'm always here if you need me, whatever it is, night or day. Like I said, you help me be House of Wax, because I go on your page and I look and I duplicate. I just posted something. When somebody duplicates something that you do, that's the highest form of hey, be flattered, dude, because right now my fiance holding the phone. That's why it's shaky. I don't have a tripod. I'm not rich enough to have a tripod like you, and I got medical tape holding my posters up because Mr. Dale he gave me the 20-minute warning because I thought this was supposed to be at noon. So I jumped up, put some clothes on, hung it up with medical tape. The camera's shaky right now, but we're gonna get it together. We're gonna get the right equipment.
I'm not concerned with perfection. My little guy jumped in, wanted to have part of the conversation. I'm like, okay, let's go with this. Right. I appreciate your patience and our viewers' patience here. And anyhow, it's good stuff. I mean, it's all about just having a good time, making connections. I think community and connections is a part of that healing too. So, I'm happy that you're in my circle, man.
Yeah, likewise. Like I said, man, I'm here. If you need me, let me know. Rock Girls 80, her too. I mean, I wouldn't be here without her. I said she's my rock. I drive her crazy because, like I said, I have anxiety. I have my good days, I have my bad days, and she has her good days, she has her bad days, and we're just living life, man, trying to do the best we can.
That's right. That's all you can do. Yep. Well, my friend, let's wind this up, and I appreciate you, and we'll talk soon.
All right, no. Hey, man, look, I'm here. If you need me, let me know. My house is your house.
Will do. Likewise, friend.
All right, Jeff.
Okay, bye. Okay, so that ended the stream.
Dude, my phone on 3%. I was like, oh my God. I was like, no, we gotta find this out. Her arms are getting tired too. Look, that's why I'm like, dude, at one time I'm like,